Hello there! Do you need a little bit of a practical talk about unrestricted eating, prolonged rest, and no more body weight suppression? Okay, watch the following video, like or subscribe, and peace. Hello there, my name is Billy Juliana. I'm 49 years old and I have a 40-year history of dealing with anorexia nervosa, and I'm currently following the recovery methods espoused by Tabitha Farrar, Kayla Rose Katecki, and Elisa Orris. And I want to remain practical at the beginning of this video and just say that unrestricted eating, prolonged rest, and no more body weight suppression is the method of recovery for people with anorexia. It is the way to banish anorexia from our lives. And why do I say that? Because this method of recovery that I got into 2.5 years ago has got me farther along in my anorexia recovery journey than any other traditional treatment method has gotten me in my life. And in fact, this is the only method that says that I can actually get recovered from anorexia. Now, I am not recovered. No, I'm not recovered yet, because it takes people who are older, I believe, a tad bit longer to get through the recovery process, because the plasticity in our brains, I think, gets a little more stiff as we get older. And my anorexic presets and mindset is all just sitting there concretized in my brain, and I'm having to chisel out new ways of thinking. Now, don't despair. Don't think that you're just going to be in agony and living in fear for 2, 3, 4 years. You could actually steamroll through the process once you get really started, and you can get going. But yes, of course, there's going to be a lot of fear and there's going to be a lot of struggle. And all my videos recently have been about how scared and how much of a struggle I have been feeling and been going through for the last 5 weeks or so, because I've come out of a place of quasi-recovery, and starting from a normal BMI, I am eating unrestrictedly again, which means that my weight is only going up further and further. Now, I should not even be talking about weight. Don't let me get on that subject, because it's not important anymore. That's something that I didn't get down early on in recovery, was that weight was not important, because I just felt my body change, and that was so foreign to me in the first place that I was like, whoa. And I just, when you're doing this on your own, which a lot of us are doing, because that's why we're watching YouTube, we're doing it on our own because we are sick of treatments. They don't help. And so we're on our own, but we're getting a lot of support from YouTube, and we're getting the right information from YouTube, hopefully. But we don't have a hand to hold through all of the process, and so we live with a lot of struggle and a lot of fear. We get very confused, and we often wonder, what are we doing? We're breaking the holy scripture that is in our brains, that is anorexia. And a lot of times when I feel my body change and all that stuff, I flip out and I have a moment, but then I have to calm myself down and say, look, I can engage in this fear, or I can pretend it's not there and keep going, because I want to be liberated from this disease. Now, I think a lot of us have held on to the disease so long because it has been a way of protecting us from a chaotic world. And I know a lot of channels say this, and a lot of psychologists say this, and they've studied it, and they've all looked at it from different analytical angles and stuff like that. It's all true. I mean, I basically would rather be in utero than be in the world, because this is one threatening place, and I am not sure I can handle it. However, I'm 49 years old, I've handled it this far, and it would have been a lot easier if I hadn't had anorexia through the doing. So I'm pretty sure that I can go forward without anorexia, and I'm pretty sure I will like life better if I don't have anorexia. And I think a lot of you who are watching are thinking the same thing, and a lot of you are just frightened out of your wits. Now, I want to say that it's also kind of leaving you hanging just to say, eat unrestrictedly, have a prolonged period of rest, and don't suppress your body weight. Now, the third one there is, I mean that, no more body weight suppression. That means taking no action that tells your brain that body weight is important. That's why I shouldn't even be talking about it on this channel. So that's it, okay? No more body weight suppression. Now, the other two are so necessary because they are the parts that tell your brain that body weight is important. So For one thing, your body is so taxed and has tried to prop me up for so long throughout all these years, that eating is the best thing that I can do. And if that means eating tens of thousands of calories for years on end, I don't care. If that's what it takes, if that's what my body asks for, I need to do it. I cannot let my fears get in the way of that anymore. And for the last 5 weeks or so, I've been pretty good at keeping up with that. But like I said, it leaves you hanging a little bit, because you're like, well, I don't know exactly what that looks like. And I definitely understand. What does unrestricted eating look like? I asked myself this question a lot when I was first in recovery, and then again when I was pulling myself out of quasi-recovery. Now, when I was pulling myself out of quasi-recovery about 5 weeks ago, I kind of knew better what unrestricted eating would look like for me. We all need to work it out for ourselves. So that's one thing. But I did kind of feel like early on when I was working with my coach, like I needed a roadmap. Somebody needed to kind of give me an idea of what other people were eating. And my coach actually consented to doing just that. And what was happening at the time was, and I don't know if she's still doing this or not, because she may not put much value in this, but don't know. But for her clients back then, she was taking food logs. They were not food plans or meal plans. She was not dictating what people eat. She was letting people write into her what they had eaten for the previous day, and then she was going to look at that and spot moments of restriction that were in that. And so she consented to sending me a copy of an anonymous food log that someone has sent to her. And she had thought that it was a good example of someone doing their best to eat unrestrictedly. And so I could tell that it was a woman, and she said that it was a woman. So this is coming from a woman's perspective. This is what she was eating unrestrictedly. I don't know what age, this was all anonymous, but it gave me a roadmap. And it was really, really helpful, because it showed me that almost every hour, and sometimes every 45 minutes, this woman was eating something. And it was something substantial, everything was just challenging. She had things, just every 45 minutes to an hour. This was so helpful to me. The only part of it that was not helpful was that it was from Great Britain, and I didn't understand a bunch of the food that was on there. So people in the UK, what is Horlicks? Is it like Ovaltine? Just want to know. It's been 2 years, it really doesn't matter, but I was like, what? Horlicks? This person got up way early in the morning and had like a bunch of Cadbury that I didn't understand either, and some Horlicks with milk. Or so I don't know what it was. I don't know. In tea? I don't know what it was. I Googled it, but I still didn't understand when I looked it up on Google. What the hell is Horlicks? Okay, so y'all can let me know in the comments. Inform this dense person who doesn't know what the hell that is. Excuse me. But anyway, this roadmap really helped. So it's very helpful if you do like read somebody's book about like what they ate. Like some people like Kayla Rose on her channel, she gives a description about what she ate in recovery. And it's a lot of food. So don't kid yourself that you're going to have like this, kind of pretty, kind of 3 meals and 3 snacks kind of thing. It's going to be thousands of calories of food. And again, definitely keep in your safe foods if that is where you're starting from, but go all in and introduce anything else that your heart's desire. And some of you may not be thinking of anything else because you're so low in your weight and you've had the disease so long and you're so tired and exhausted that your body isn't really sending you any cravings. It's just saying, thank you for giving me your safe foods. Thank you so much. This really helps. It's kind of on automatic pilot like that. But if you just think back maybe to when you were a kid and what you liked as a kid, for me, mac and cheese, I don't know, just something that I liked when I was a kid. I know I loved cheese toast and things like that. And so I started out by introducing McDonald's because when I was a kid, McDonald's was a treat for me. And so, yeah, McDonald's gets bashed in society today like you would not believe, but that's where I went. That was like, okay, I'm going to go to what I loved when I was a kid. And, yeah, it gets bashed in society, all the better, because I'm really swimming upstream now against all the voices that are telling me to restrict. So that's where I started, but then it ended up blossoming into all the baked goods that you've seen me eat recently, sweet baked goods. But it helped, like I said, having a little bit of a roadmap. So definitely think about what would look like an ideal day of eating for you. Think back to when you were a kid. Do something in order to expand your horizons about your food. And then write down, and my coach does endorse this. She says that it is okay to kind of plan out what you want to eat for any given day or for the rest of the day, and then to go by that. But also, if you want more, or if you feel like your mental hunger is still sitting there bugging you, even though you're full, eat more than you planned. But if writing out a plan helps organize you so that you're not sort of a deer in the headlights and just running back to your safe foods and just staying in restriction, then definitely do that. So I'm trying to clear up a little bit of what unrestricted eating looks like for those of you who are completely perplexed out there, or who are completely at sea because you're just so exhausted that all you can think about is your safe foods. So just try to think of something that is extra yummy to you, and then plan it. And then plan it in huge quantities and go for it. Okay? I'm gonna dictate that. If you are not at risk for refeeding syndrome, by the way, if you are really at a low place and you haven't been eating for several days, then you might be at risk for refeeding syndrome. So make sure that you're okay medically to just go all in unrestricted. But as soon as you are medically okay and you know that, go all in unrestricted. Okay? And if that just means for the first day just eating a bunch of your safe foods, that's fine. But introduce those challenging foods or those different foods as soon as possible. And yes, I understand that it will make the lovely times with your safe food maybe a little less enjoyable because you'll be full and you'll be like, shoot, the time that I really love in the day is not as fun. The end of the day, when I have my nighttime snack and I'm finally allowed to sit and have my me time, that's not as fun. Yes, introducing a lot more food during the day makes that time at night a little less fun, but it will all balance out. Don't worry about it. I have certainly been through that. And yes, all my life, the best time of the day has been right before I go to bed, when I have the biggest amount of food that I allow myself throughout the day to eat. And this has been the way that my anorexic pattern has been. It's the way most people's anorexic patterns are. So don't despair about that. That thing at the end of the day is always going to be there. You will always have your nighttime snack. It will always be exactly what you want. And yes, at the beginning, it does take a little bit away from the enjoyment of the snack to introduce things throughout the day because you're a little bit more full. And so that reward that comes from eating something when you're really, really hungry is not there. However, you can still have your snack, still treat it with the glory and the awe that you treat it, but treat everything else with glory and awe because you're finally letting yourself have what you need so desperately. So that's my spiel about unrestricted eating. It will be different for everybody. So it looks different for every person out there. It takes a lot of work and courage to stay consistent with that unrestricted eating. So just figure out what it is for you. Take some cues from people who look inspiring to you. And then also just think about what you want to have, kind of plan it out, and then go for it and then add to it. All right? That's my spiel on unrestricted eating. Just for a moment, let's be still. All right, so prolonged rest. This is a little bit of a tricky one because formal exercise is something that I have had issues with over the course of my 40-year history, but I haven't had the kind of compulsive exercise issues that other people have had, like 6-hour-a-day runs or marathon training and that kind of thing. So it was pretty easy for me to quit all formal exercise when I first started this method of recovery. However, the lower level movement piece, very big problem. All through my life, I've had lower level movement issues on top of exercise, but much more lower level issues. So I've had to chip away and chip away and chip away at this, and I'm still struggling with it. Ideally, what I mean by prolonged rest is, yes, sitting and watching TV and just treating your life like it's one long leisure hour, like it's one long leisure life. A lot of us can't do this because we're busy. Now, I don't have a formal career, but I do have work that I have to do during the work week and on the weekend. And I also have responsibilities that I have to keep up with. So yes, I do have to get up and start moving around, but I have to be really careful and not let that kind of energy expenditure become a reward system, like let it feed my brain and say, oh, today was better because I was moving around more or I was engaged more. I need to spot that immediately and eat something to counteract what that is telling my brain, that weight suppression is somehow important. Because if I'm sitting there thinking, oh, today's better, I'm a better person because I was engaged more and I didn't eat as much because I was busy, and also I expended more energy because I was busy, then I need to nip that in the bud and eat something and eat a lot more. And I also need to spot where it is affecting my brain or how it is affecting my brain. So again, if you have careers and all that kind of stuff, I would recommend a prolonged leave of absence if you can do that. If you can't, a lot of us can, of course. Just make sure you eat as you pursue your career, and also rest as much as you can in the moments that you are pursuing your career, and rest outside of your career, and watch how your engagements with life might interfere with your recovery, because your recovery is the number one thing right now over and above your career. Okay, so I don't want to sound too preachy. Am I sounding preachy? I guess. But recovery is a number one thing over and above the career. So, just watch how your work and all that stuff is affecting your mentality and your mentation. Because a lot of times I will take whatever I'm doing and use that as a way of feeding myself and not eat, and feel like I'm much the better for it because I've been doing something productive. The most productive thing I can do is get rid of this disease. And that means sitting down, resting, and eating, which is hard enough to do as it is because we are all so terrified. So we just need to concentrate on that, okay? That's what I mean by prolonged rest. Ideally, yeah, just sitting down most of the time. Of course, you'll get up and move around to do whatever you need to do, to go to the bathroom, whatever. But ideally, it would just be taking life at a leisurely pace. That's what prolonged rest means. So take life at a leisurely pace. Okay, so those are the three elements of this recovery method that I wanted to go over in a little bit more detail, and go over a little bit about what's going on in my brain as well. But I also have to say that in order for me to get 100% recovered, I'm going to have to still knock down a bunch of these lower level movement things and these habits and rituals that I engage in. And also I need to look at how busyness during the day or work during the day feeds me, because I've been noticing more lately that I've been giving a value judgment on my day, even if it's just something that I'm doing while I'm sitting down. If I'm doing work while I'm sitting down, it's like, oh, I've done better today because I've been more productive. And that is something that's feeding the anorexia in my brain. The most productive thing would be for me to just chill and sit back and let my brain rest and let my body rest. So I just posit that theory for you all to think about as well. So again, I'm sorry I'm rambling, and this whole video has been just nothing but a long ramble, but I did want to go over these three things because I know a lot of you are just really stuck and just wanting to move forward and get rid of anorexia, but you just don't know how to take that first step. Or you might have started taking the steps and then gotten stuck like I did because you were just so fearful about where your weight was going. But at this point, weight is just no longer an issue. It's just not. We are swimming against society. We are going against society, and we are going against our anorexic brains that are fueled by anorexic society. And we are going to go to whatever weight our bodies need to take us to. And we're going to be fine. And also, we're going to do these unrestricted eating things, and we're going to do the prolonged rest things to the best of our abilities. Okay, I think I've talked your ear off. So that's what I mean when I say unrestricted eating and rest and all that stuff. It's easier said than done. So do not mind commenting down below how you are struggling and all of that. I understand because I'm going through a lot of the same struggles as well. But I do think this method of the recovery is the one that will banish anorexia from my life. So I'm sticking with it. So everyone, please eat unrestrictedly, rest, take care, peace. Until next time.